சிவாய நம திருச்சிற்றம்பலம். Welcome back to our program on a 360-degree view of ninth Thirumurai. Today we are going to hear a beautiful talk on an introduction to ninth Thirumurai by Swami Divyananda Saraswati Ji. Swami Divyananda Saraswati Ji was formally ordained as a Hindu Swami in the Saraswati order in 2009 by Sri Swami Jyotirmayananda of the Yoga Research Foundation, a direct disciple of Sri Swami Shivananda of the Divine Life Society. She is a co-founder of Adi Shankara Advaita Ashram and for the last 10 years assists Swami Vijayananda Ji with maintaining a fully consecrated temple in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. She studied advanced yoga practices under Swami Vijayananda, former national administrator of the Transcendental Meditation Movement of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi in India. She studied Advaita Vedanta at Ashavidya Gurukulam in Salesburg, Pennsylvania, Coimbatore and Rishikesh in India. She has travelled extensively throughout India, visiting temples, ashrams and sacred rivers and mountains, and now makes her home in Thiruvannamala at Thirumurai Ashram. She started the first yoga classes for people with HIV/AIDS at the Body Positive in Miami in 1988. She taught Bal Vihar or the Hindu Sunday School to Hindu teenagers at the South Florida Hindu Temple from 2000 to 2012. She has retired from government service as a regulatory compliance surveyor, registered nurse specialist with a bachelor's degree in nursing science and a master's degree in Hindu philosophy with a concentration in chaplaincy. She is a graduate of Sacred Journey Interfaith Seminary in the tradition of Swami Sachidananda of the Lotus Temple and is an ordained interfaith minister promoting Sanatana Dharma and peaceful multi-faith dialogues among the faith leaders of diverse faith traditions. She was awarded the Hindu Ambassador of the Year award for her service by the Hindu American Foundation. She established the School of Divinity at Hindu University of America, serving as the director for 3 years and continues as faculty teaching online classes in Yoga Nidra, teacher training certifications, Hindu chaplaincy and Prohit to students around the world. She also facilitates conversational American English groups and individual instructions via Zoom. Without further ado, I would like to invite Swami Amma for giving her beautiful speech on an introduction to ninth Thirumurai. Sivaya Nama Tiruchitrambalam.
Shivaya Namaha Tiruchitrambalam. I thank Tirumati Shiva Lavanya Aru of Namtamar Urun Literary Research Center of Singapore for inviting me to give this talk and for selecting the ninth Thirumurai to be the topic presented. What a blessing it is to have the opportunity to learn about Thirumurai. What is Thirumurai? The Thirumurai are the devotional treasure of Shaivism. They are a living sacred art form that has been in existence in South India since 500 BCE. They are important culturally as a comprehensive music system that predates the Sangam period, which is notable for the development of musical concepts such as raga. They are inextricably woven into the spiritual life and religious worship performed by the Tamil Shaivite communities. The vocal art focuses on the singing of devotional poetry of poet saints who spontaneously compose them while worshiping at various renowned temples through what is today Tamil Nadu. In a unique and specific oral tradition of recitation, specially qualified singers known as Oduvars have preserved and carried the original verses known as Tiruvisaipa and their melody, Pan, which evolved from pentatonic scale to a heptatonic scale forward through the centuries in their original form. While Oduvars, like temple priests, are traditionally male, women also recite the verses. Grateful acknowledgement to Namtamar Urun Research Center for organizing Oduvars and men and women to study, perform, and help disseminate this sacred devotional art form. Tiru means holy, Murai means divisions. The literary collection of 12 volumes of Thirumurai are arranged in 4 categories. The first 9 are stotram or praises. The content of the 10th Thirumurai is shastram or philosophy, called Tirumantiram. The 11th Thirumurai is prabandham, as the songs in this Thirumurai are composed of various language constructs. The 12th Thirumurai is Puranam, history. I tell you, preparing this talk has been a pilgrimage to Tilai. Like a traditional pilgrimage, there should be some difficulties along the way. As I pored through English translations of the 9th Thirumurai, jam-packed with English words no longer in common use, startled by words whose meaning and usage have changed over time. Some of what I found written was really quite rough and could be considered offensive by today's evolution of the English language. What to say of all the words borrowed from Latin and Hebrew? Still, one must appreciate and hold the scholars who have attempted to translate the 9th Thirumurai in high esteem. They also formally acknowledge the difficulty encountered in translation in their introductions to the text. As I contemplated the translations, it became clear to me the barrier to understandable translation is that there are no English words to convey what is said and meant in Tamil, because in the English-speaking world, there are no experiences like this to describe. Hence the need for far reaches into older forms of English, as well as Latin and Hebrew. I also want to thank the Hindu IT community for making it possible for anyone who can use email to be able to access the literary treasures of India in so many different languages, and much of it somewhat translatable to Western languages. My namaskarams to you all. Through increased transaction between the diverse individual and communities of spiritual seekers of the West and the ancient culture of India, especially South India, deeper searches for meaning identified by pilgrimages to places we as Westerners consider our spiritual home, taking up ashram-style living, disciplined yoga practices, getting exposure to culture, fine arts, folk arts, teachers, and teachings. The West is creating vasanas, grooves in the cultural psyche. The Western seeker's enthusiasm for exploring and expanding territories in search of riches makes no distinction between lands and knowledge. Both are wealth, but knowledge is far more precious and portable. During this presentation, you're going to hear many words of the beautiful Tamil language mispronounced. I ask for your forgiveness, your patience, and kind indulgence as I find my way through carefully prepared and practiced words. Questions I had and could not find answer to in my research of available English language literature are about the guidelines for times of day the patigams are to be sung. Just as each raga has an identifiable characteristic corresponding to human feelings and emotions, such as love, anger, compassion, sorrow at separation, longing, and indifference, I wanted to know if this were also the case with the patigams. I also wondered if there was available detailed information about patigam siddhi, as there is with mantra siddhi. I also wondered about the repetition of description of images between the patigams of poet saints of different centuries. Trusted translation is needed to help the English-speaking reader discern literary Tamil and creative poetic license with liturgical language. Clear boundaries between translation and commentary could be identified. It would be useful for the researcher. May it be that the devotee poet scholars, equally skilled in devotional Tamil literature and English literature, come forward to take up this seva. Topics I would like to recommend for further investigation and perhaps a series of English talks are the Vedanta of Thirumurai, the Yoga of Thirumurai, vocal physics of Thirumurai, sound healing in Thirumurai, and the relationship between Vedas, Shivagamas, and Thirumurais. Thank you to Shiva Lavanya, who has already published the talks of great scholars relating the ninth Thirumurai to Shaiva Siddhantam and Vedas. She has published her research on the ninth Thirumurai and Tamil grammar, and has made education available in English through her YouTube channel, Namtamar Uran. She has also arranged for Shiva Thiru Shivakumar Oduvar, Kalidas Oduvar, and others to provide authentic recitation of selected patigams for a Let's Learn to Sing series of classes available in Tamil and English on YouTube. Just this week, I was able to learn verse 9:16:3 on my own by using this service. It requires a lot of practice, but I learned this patigam, Atiru patigam, by Karuvur Tevar, the poet saint who sang it for Tanjavur Temple, Pan Panjamam, Ragam Agiri, Talam Adi. The English text I researched also gives the image of clashing crowns in the Tiruvisaipa of Tirumali Tevar. It occurs in the Tiruvisaipa 929 in a description of Vishnu, Indra, and Brahma stampeding the temple entrance. The English text I researched also gives the image of clashing crowns in the Tiruvisaipa of Tirumalai Tevar. It occurs in the Tiruvisaipa 929 in a description of Vishnu, Indra, and Brahma stampeding the temple entrance for a glimpse of Lord Shiva. I very much doubt they were stampeding. Of all the words to use in translation. Fortunately, having watched many magnificent old Tamil films with such greats as Shivaji Ganeshan and Savitri, Varalakshmi, Gemini Ganeshan, Shiva Kumar, among the many celestial stars of the Tamil Film Board, I have a good supply of images to fuel my transport to the gates of bliss with this scene. The Tiruvisaipa of Kandar Atidar, the fifth poet saint, is a soul-stirring encomium of appreciation for the temple culture, Vedic chanting, yagyas, Chola kings, the Devas, and Maharishi Patanjali. In 10 verses sweetly saturated with divine reverence, he describes scenes in the Ambalam in Tilai, reporting from the front lines, sacred activities of ritual worship in a place he knew very well. He relates the scattering of jewels from colliding crowns being swept away from the dance floor by servitors, in contrast with the fixed, immovable, gold-roofed ambalam his own father, the king, installed, which itself is like a crown, and which he himself had supervised the workmanship of. You read, and even with all the complications of English translations, you just know there was the dance party of all dance parties, and that the poet saint was so in tune with the divine, he was operating in a superconscious state. His words reflect royal upbringing in his diction and poetic etiquette. Gandhar Adidar was a prince, the son of a Chola king, Parantaka I, whose reign lasted 46 years and expanded the Chola kingdom. There's so much respect for the Divine Mother, who is not directly addressed, nor is her sacred name mentioned, only acknowledged as consort and praised for her beauty and modesty. Kandaratita respected the Vedic Brahmins. He established the Chaturvedi Mangalam near Tirumalapadi as a gift to them. He also built a temple for Vishnu called Kandaratita, Vinagaram, along with bringing about a temple for the Samanas in Palichental district of South Arcot. He expresses concerns for power with authority and might with mercy, forgiveness and recompense, as befits his station. For all these beautiful sentiments, the poet saint's unsolaced soul cry for darshan, for attainment, for union is heard as the last line of each verse. The closing verse declares Kandaratitan, the monarch of Tanjavur, and Koli, and assures that those who are valiant in his verse garland will revel gloriously in bliss in Shiva's heaven, from which they will never part. I related it to Tirupalandu, a mini version in each Tiruvisaipa, and also to Palashruti of the Upanishads and Stotrams. This is just a brief glimpse into the life of one poet saint and one song. With this, the vault opens to reveal unimaginable treasure. There are many advanced yoga practitioners in the English-speaking countries who feel an affinity for these ancient songs and like who they become in their presence. The ineffable joy, the feeling of an indescribable lightness of being, the peace that begins in the back of the throat, slackens the jaw, and sweetly sweeps into the rest of the body. The sensation of the heart opening, the expansion of mind, of free-flowing tears on which rides a feeling there are no English words for. Ownership is taken even when the words cannot be pronounced correctly, and the meaning is never completely handed over by the translator either. Like one not knowing how to say the name of their own beloved child, or how that child got into your family. All you know is that they are part of you, and you are part of them. And the rest you have no answer for, and no apology either. That is why I decided I should take up this talk at whatever part of the reins I could get my hand to grasp, and hold on for dear life, as it took me like a rough and ready cowboy in a Western movie on yet another adventure of many lifetimes, riding into the sunset of his divine ruddy hue. The Patigams remind me of the story of the 3 blind boys and the elephant. We see that at each position they were stationed, they know something unique about the elephant, but not all that was to be known. I would add a chapter and ask the boys to switch positions until all had a chance to experience a different feature of the elephant, until all of the features had been explored. I believe it is the same ask of the poet saints in their envoy lines, the request for one and allness. Perhaps one day there will be a website devoted to the 9th Thirumurai, a repository of literary treasures where poet pilgrims can come and take refuge, assured the education received is correct. Internet is still too new and unsupervised. Anyone can claim authority, upload, download, and unload pretty much anything they wish, and they do. Still, there is a special grace the Lord bestows to those willing to surrender and search. Otto Jespersen, author of A Brief History of Singing, said, "In the beginning was the voice. Voice is sounding breath, the audible sign of life. Music is not a universal language. Singing is. Singing is ancient and universal. Humans sang before they spoke. The patigams are passed through an oral singing tradition with rules and apprenticeship to communicate precise ideas, emotions, moods, states of being, spiritual practices, and life routines common to an entire people and understood best by those whose life experience has filled these sounds with profound personal and shared meaning. I would like the English-speaking countries to know that being in the presence of these ancient Tamil words is itself a blessing. Words have a corresponding construct in the field of higher consciousness. Words are the pramana, the vehicle for the truth. Blessings increase as one listens to the words read out loud, multiplied in orders of magnitude if heard sung. It has been my great good fortune to have visited some of these temples, and especially Tirupanandal, where I listened to Oduvar Tyagarajan recite something that energized my spine and took my words away. Literary scholars like Shiva Lavanya have used the internet to make it possible for us to hear the ninth Thirumurai recited correctly by Oduvars and practice on our own. With this, it is possible to create one's own daily sadhana of being in the presence of the poet saints of the ninth Thirumurai, the temples where the Tiruvisipa were recited, and at the feet of the cosmic dancer, no matter where you live in the world. Review of available literature at karnataka.net reveals an elaboration on the yoga of Thirumurai. Nada Brahma means pure sound. Nada is also the energy of Brahma. The propitiation of nada leads to the attainment of moksha, which is the ultimate goal of human life. You know, I could not help but notice the little demon under Lord Nataraja's foot was actually smiling. I couldn't quite make out if he was asking Lord Shiva, Lord Nataraja, to set him free or to keep dancing on him. Whatever is going on with him, what a thing it is to contemplate. So for instructions on how to create a sadhana, for this, the website shaivam.org addresses how to do these prayers. Chant them on a regular basis. Even if you don't understand it at first, keep listening to it. If you know the pun, the melody, you can sing in that. The audio file provided, they also provide audio files, could give some idea of the prescribed music for the hymn. If you do not know the music, no harm. You could just read the hymns. If you can't read the letters, try to listen to these songs with the help of the audio files. Involve your mind continuously in God as much as possible while chanting. For this, use images. They have posted images of God at the gallery to help. You could also do this as prayer on behalf of somebody else. Once you get to see the fruit of the prayer, thank God and continue your devotion, maybe by singing the same or some other patigam. That would provide you the immunity against the possible ills in future. So to further encourage my fellow Westerners, sometimes you're out shopping and there's music coming in from the overhead speakers. You can't quite make out the words, but the melody is familiar. And if you start humming the tune, the words come to you like bees to flowers. I'm finding that in this same way, One can attract the power of pun by reading Thirumurai daily as part of their sadhana. When I first attended yoga classes, my guru used to recite 3 Tamil songs at the close of the class after the completion of the pranayama and meditation and yoga nidra. It was always the same 3 songs, offered at the optimal state of physical relaxation and conscious awareness. It was a transcendental experience. Listening with eyes closed in the darkness, I could see in my Chiddakasha many beautiful scenes playing out on the altar of my consciousness. Sometimes there were scenes from events I had no experience of and no language for. I did not know what I was experiencing, and yet what was experienced was not unknown to me. It was as if I were being shown something I had not seen for a very long time and had forgotten about. It's like remembering something about your life from so long ago in the past that you cannot believe it was really you in that situation, doing that thing long forgotten and now so suddenly remembered. Many Western devotees have some version of this experience when they make contact with Hindu devotional culture. Tiruchitrambalam. This one word was spoken into my conscious awareness by a friend many years ago as a spiritual salutation. I loved the word, and I loved listening to myself saying it. Tiruchitrambalam, Tiruchitrambalam, Tiruchitrambalam. I assigned so much meaning to it. The more meaning assigned, the greater the power it manifested as an affirmation of established order, auspiciousness, Ishvara, Tiruchitrambalam. I have seen in my own life that if one keeps affirming Tiruchitrambalam, well, here I am now, speaking to all of you. There's no other explanation for it. Internet research sites provide evidence-based research on the effect of music on human physiology. Simon Heather of the College of Sound Healing states, sound healing is one of the oldest forms of healing known to man. We are now realizing how powerful sound can be when used for healing. The principles of sound healing, resonance, entrainment, and intention, the healing power of the voice, harmonics and musical intervals, chant and rhythm. Scientific research has revealed how sound affects the cells in our body. There is unique power for healing that is contained in our voices. When we sing, we resonate every cell in our body. Sound healing offers us all the possibility of a drug-free way of treating pain and illness, as well as a way of tuning ourselves to the divine. In 1665, a Dutch scientist, Christian Huygens, discovered the principle of entrainment. This principle states that whenever 2 or more oscillators in the same field are pulsing at nearly the same rate, they tend to lock in and begin pulsing at exactly the same rate. The powerful rhythmic vibrations from one source will cause less powerful vibrations of another source to lock into the vibration of the first source. Simon Heather states, if you sing a strong, clear, harmonious song to a person who is sick or out of balance, their body will lock into your powerful healing sound. The principles of resonance and entrainment are both at work in a sound healing treatment. In the West, many psychiatric units and hospitals offer music therapy as a prescribed treatment, as well as for relaxation and recreation and entertainment. By humming certain musical tones, one copes with unpleasant feelings or loneliness effectively. In the intensive care unit, the ICU, recorded music is played in the patient's room for its therapeutic effect on the patient, the family, visitors, and the staff. Life-sustaining machinery is quite noisy, with humming, droning, and beeping sounds. Music offers a buffering and a connection when one is sedated and incapacitated undergoing artificial ventilation. In hospice, music is also a treatment modality. Hearing is the last sense to go. In the West, many families play the dying person's favorite music. Others have the television blasting out news, commercial advertisements, infomercials, stupid game or talk shows at the time of death. It's a choice, but only if one knows there are things to choose from. The hymns of the Thirumurai could be offered to help to consciously connect the dying person to their higher power. Even if the person does not know the meaning of the words, the power of the pun, through entrainment, would help to carry them safely to the other shore. To leave the body conscious of the Lord is the goal of the dying person. There is scope for the application of this work in the field of music therapy and ethnomusicology in clinical and home settings around the world. As Thirumurai is songs of praise and prayer, I looked into the last line of each stanza of the first patigam for the introduction, as the positioning of the Thirumurai is a planned action. So there would be a clear statement of vision and mission in that first patigam. I looked for the foundation for the preceding lines of appreciations and praises, and found the prayer call of the soul of the composer. All through this talk, I've used the word poet saint in reference to the composer, and here it is, so crystal clear, in each stanza, one can almost see themselves in it. I almost did not include this in this talk, for browsing Nam Tamar Uran YouTube channel, I came across a talk given by Shiva Srinivasan Govindaraj of Chennai. His topic was Insights from Thiruvissaipa, a spiritual perspective, in English. It contained many of the same ideas and references as mine. Synchronicity. I edited out most of what would be considered redundant, but left this section because it is important to the Western students' orientation to the ninth Thirumurai. Thiruvissaipa of Tirumaligai Devar, Koyal. So will that I, your servitor, hail you fittingly. So will that I adore you as I ought to. So will that I, your servitor, meditate on you. So will that I, your servitor, duly speak of you. So will that I, your servitor, reach you. So will that I, your servitor, be one with you. So will that I, your servitor, ensole your feet twain. So will that I, your servitor, be one with you. So will that I, your servitor, ever follow you. So will that I, your servitor, will ever long for you. So will that I, your servitor, will ever think of you. During the March 6th Mutroro, I was given an assignment to sing one of the Tirupalandu songs. Like a stubborn child, I stumbled, mumbled, grumbled, and fell on the words of the ninth Thirumurai. Coming to 9/29/12, Aravandar. Tears welled up in the eyes like two kalashas and spilled over the stone-cold heart enshrined in this chest wall. I mentally recited the Saptanadi, Ganga, Yamuna, Sindhu, Narmada, Godavari, Krishna, Kaveri. How many times I had transited the car street. I too had come to visit the Lord for his darshan, but I had not seen all that has been said in the ninth Thirumurai. My eyes were open and scanning like radar, but I did not see the gods who also came to visit him. So, I'm confronted in my advancing years with the ice-cold understanding that I have these eyes, these mind's eyes, that for all my years of sadhana cannot yet see such sights. But through his mercy and kindness to me, I had been assigned a song from this patigam and this pan to let me know I was exactly where the poet saint composer stood when he saw it and sang it as he saw it. I was grateful my feet were where they were when I stood there on holy ground. The years of searching finally brought me to his door, to this place where I could stand in words with colliding crowns spewing jewels onto the temple floors like the Hadron Collider. You want to know a secret? You already know it. When we go to the Lord, what do? We fold our hands and close our eyes. Then we are bumped or shooed off so the next devotees can come and do the same thing. What do we actually see? Are we there to see the Lord? Or are we there to be seen by the Lord? No wonder the crowns collided and their jewels popped out like too many people trying to fit in the selfie. Albert Einstein stated, there are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. It's a choice. What choice do you make? One can choose a life of service and study, a love of all things bhakti. To attract the attention of the Lord is a different life than one that sadly complains, oh, you didn't come. I was waiting. I called. You didn't answer. Stand up. Take a bath. Wear your temple clothes. Go to the temples where Thirumurai were sung. Learn a song from a patigam. Sing it. Sing your heart out. Offer your flower. Dance like no one is watching. Go when everyone else is eating or shopping, and you have the whole temple pretty much to yourself. Support the temple. Feed his devotees. Be kind to bees, for the poet saints report them drinking deeply from his flower, from his nectarine presence. They're just drunk and too heavy to fly. And watch where you walk. You might just find a jewel the sweeper missed. With a grateful heart, receiving the assignment of a song from a patigam showed me that I did indeed receive darshan. Anyone can have this darshan. If one takes even a little teeny weeny bit of effort, divine forces will convene to propel you onward. It is up to you to call it into being. So in closing, I offer the goodie bag with this message. Start somewhere, anywhere. Wherever you start, is a good beginning. Tiruchitrambalam. Tiruchitrambalam. Tiruchitrambalam.